This week, the hotel inspector tackles a business in the Last Chance saloon.
This is a bit like being buried in an apricot. Your eyes are glazing over as I talk to you. This matters, Heidi. This matters. Come next January, February, you ain't got no more money.
This is the Weyanoke, a 33-bedroom Victorian hotel in Eastbourne. 3 years ago, after a brief stint running a small B&B, Mark and Heidi Cowderoy decided to upgrade their ambitions.
I would like it to be the most beautiful hotel on Eastbourne seafront that people are desperate to stay at because it's so nice.
But the Weyanoke's seen better days. With an interior described as God's waiting room, the hotel catered mainly for cheap coach parties of pensioners paying as little as £18 a night.
All of threes, 33.
The couple started a room-by-room renovation, hoping to up their market and their prices. But Heidi hasn't done things by halves.
Since we've been here, we've actually spent just coming up for £1 million.
The work has been paid for with credit cards and overdrafts, leaving the couple deep in debt.
We've lost money from day one. And Mark will say it's all my fault because I've just spent.
Until all the rooms are renovated, Mark and Heidi are resigned to trading their £1 million rooms for next to nothing.
Here's a song you may remember. You can sing along to this one.
A heck of a lot of money spent on the rooms, and they're nice-looking rooms, for somebody who's paying peanuts.
We totally do not know where to go with the hotel.
The Weyanoke clearly has an identity crisis, and that's where celebrated hotelier Ruth Watson comes in. But what kind of first impression does the hotel make?
There's the normal, horrible, glazed 60s sun lounge stuck on the front of this hotel, but behind it is the most fantastic building. Architecturally, this is just sublime. It's got Regency verandas and it is so handsome. Big anomaly, though, is the name, Weyanoke Hotel. I feel as if I'm in North America, not on Eastbourne's coast.
So Ruth's already established the hotel has great potential, but its image is as out of place and confusing as its name.
Hello. Hi. I'm Ruth. I've come to see Mark and Heidi. Okay.
Ruth quickly calls a powwow in the Weyanoke's dining room to get to the root of their problems.
I'm walking along the promenade and I see the name of your hotel, Weyanoke, and I'm in Eastbourne, not in North America. How on earth does that happen?
It's Red Indian for something like Little House by the Sea or Hut by the Stream or something like that, and it's horrendous. Is it Weyanoke?
So you don't even know how to pronounce it?
People on the phone say it's the Weyanoke, and they say, so that's what? Why? No, it's W. The conversation can be about 5 minutes long about trying to spell our name.
Would you consider changing it?
We'd like to change it, but the problem that we have is trying to find something that is acceptable.
Mark and Heidi will have to make sure the hotel has the right image if they're to appeal to a more affluent clientele. And time is of the essence, as the Weyanoke's already left them deeply in the red.
Financially, you've got a mortgage and you're trying to do the rooms up.
Yes.
Out of profit, and you're not making any profit.
No. At the moment, we're just very, very extended in overdraft situation.
It's very dispiriting, struggling in that fashion.
That's what we argue about more than anything else.
Yes.
Yeah.
Would it be fair to say that this business of having coach parties is not the solution?
Yes, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that's the nitty-gritty.
Despite their crippling debts, Mark and Heidi seem hesitant about losing the coach parties altogether. Ruth needs to investigate further before she can come up with a plan to stop the rot. First up, one of the refurbished rooms where Ruth will be staying the night.
Well, apart from the squeaky door, blow me down. Who would have thought it? I mean, I come up in a cruddy lift and horrible carpets on the landing and the stairs, and I'm suddenly in this fabulous room. It's a delight. Really, really freshly painted. It's everything you want in a hotel room, but gosh, what a stark contrast to everything else I've seen downstairs. But it does feel as if I'm in two different hotels, which could be a bit of a problem. Oh, what joy! A clean, modern bathroom. This is fantastic. It's absolutely spotless. This is a first for me. Marvellous.
The refurbished bedrooms are clearly a strong point, but Ruth wants to see how the old rooms compare.
My word, how this room is in such sharp contrast to the ones Heidi's done up. I mean, we've got paintwork behind the radiator where you can see the old wallpaper showing. It is very, very grim. The whole thing is such a shame because there are two different businesses trading in this one building and it's very confusing.
Having seen the before and after, Ruth heads to the second floor to check out a work in progress. Room 17 is in mid-revamp. Heidi plans to steal a section of the existing bedroom to form a new ensuite.
My first question is, what on earth are they doing? They seem to be taking a chunk out in the corner to make an internal bathroom, which completely flies in the face of what they should be doing because nowadays everyone's looking for bigger bathrooms. Have they actually thought this through? Everything conspires to tell me that no, they haven't.
The sun sets on day one of Ruth's inspection. But how will Mark and Heidi deal with her straight shooting in the cold light of day?
Your eyes are glazing over as I talk to you. I don't think Mark always knows what you're doing. I'm not sure you know what he's doing. This matters, Heidi. This matters.
This is the Weyanoke in Eastbourne, a 33-bed hotel that's going south and has driven its owners to the brink.
Number 6.
For many years, the hotels cater to low-paying coach parties, but Mark and Heidi Cowderoy are desperate to take their beloved hotel upmarket.
We haven't made any profit since we've been here. We've lost money from day one. And Mark will say it's all my fault because I've just spent.
Unrestrained spending has seen over £1 million invested in a partial refurbishment, and terrifying debts have been racked up. Enter Ruth Watson. Last night, as part of her inspection, Ruth stayed at the hotel. This morning, Heidi's up early, concerned about her VIP guest.
Having Ruth stay in the hotel is a very, very daunting experience. And today I'm thinking, oh my God, why are we doing it?
Ruth's up and about, continuing her inspection in the hotel's pastel-toned TV lounge.
This is a bit like being buried in an apricot.
I'm cacking it.
This must be a legacy from either the previous owner or Heidi and Mark are more insane than I give them credit for. It's a little token gesture for the name of Weyanoke.
Next, Ruth heads to the hotel's dining room to sample the Weyanoke breakfast.
Oh, good morning.
Hello.
Hi. Take you to table 11.
Yes, thank you. Oh, the menu's very short and sweet. Basically, cereal, juice, and then eggs any way you like, sausage, baked beans, and tomato and bacon. No messing.
If Mark and Heidi want to take the Weyanoke upmarket, the quality of their breakfast will need to reflect that.
Oh, thank you very much.
Would you like any sauce or anything?
No, that's fine, thank you.
Thank you.
This is a slightly pitiful looking breakfast, but if I was getting this as part of a £20 a night deal, then I could hardly complain about it. It's a terrible, terrible sausage. The skin has got more going on than the insides. Not good. Egg, it's okay, it's fine. It's okay, you know, it's a meagre little costed breakfast to go with a very small tariff. If they want to upgrade this, then this whole thing has got to have just so much more feeling of indulgence about it.
With the hotel's dual personality in evidence, even at the breakfast table, Ruth heads to reception to offer Heidi some food for thought.
Morning, Ruth. I thought I'd just come and see your little empire here, which looks completely chaotic to me. Are there two people in your head, Heidi? Because this looks to me like a mess.
There is a definite for the show for the guests and another side, yes.
This might be very simplistic, but I don't know how you can work efficiently.
It is something that we're working on, and Mark's very negative about it all at the moment because it's going to cost a bit of money getting some shells.
Yeah,
and
no,
bits
but
and
look, being
pieces.
tidy doesn't cost money. I'd love to see you clear this up. If somebody comes in and it looks a mess, they assume that everything's a mess.
Yeah.
And actually, that isn't the case. I mean, you run a really, tight ship, and this is giving the wrong impression.
Okay. She's straight to the point, says it as it is. I'm a bit more worried about people's reactions and I'm a bit more cautious of how to tread, whereas if Ruth just goes, pow!
Ruth tracks Mark down to the basement bar to find out who holds the Weyanoke's purse strings.
This is where you secrete yourself. So let's just clarify. The money comes in, and both of you, do you have any idea of what kind of money is going to come in? Do you have an idea of the budgets? Do you have any kind of business plan for the year?
We have a pretty good idea of what we receive throughout the year. So I like to see the money coming in, that's probably my thing. Whereas the money going out is probably not my strength, whereas Heidi quite likes spending the money that's coming in. She quite likes spending it quite a lot of the time, really. So I try and rein her in if I can.
How do you try to rein her in?
The way it tends to happen is that we would tend to argue about it. Probably more often than not, she gets her own way because she can be quite convincing.
Convincing or just bloody-minded?
She's bloody-minded as well, but actually, quite right in what she says. If we can refurbish in the rooms, we do get more money for the rooms. So you're caught between a rock and a hard place taking a decision. And probably often for an easy life, I tend to agree with her. Probably too much, to truth be known.
The end result of that can only be catastrophe. It sounds to me that whether you're taking 300, 500, 700, Heidi will just spend that extra amount of money. She'll just do more rooms.
That's correct.
By spending all the money they make when they're busy, they leave themselves with no reserves for the leaner months of the year.
You get to next winter, there isn't going to be any...
Well, we won't have a hotel if it's the same thing this year.
You're on the brink.
Yes.
Mark's concern is obvious. Heidi is spending income the Weyanoke simply doesn't have. If they don't control their expenditure and plan for the future, the hotel could be heading for financial ruin. After spending 24 hours at the Weyanoke, Ruth gathers the couple to reveal her findings. First up, the hotel's biggest problem, its confused identity.
I don't think I've ever felt quite so agitated about a hotel as this one has made me feel, because you're trading two things simultaneously, you're thinking two different ways simultaneously, you're charging two different tariffs simultaneously. I mean, the whole thing is just this horrible, horrible push me, pull you.
Yeah.
Do you feel that way when you're working here?
Yeah, I do. We seem to have a different perspective for different guests.
So I think things have really got to stop, in effect, right now, if anything's going to get better here.
They have to decide once and for all whether they're really going to take the hotel up market or concentrate on the coach parties.
What we're going to do is we're going to map out two separate business plans, one trading it one way, one trading it the other way. It's up to you to then make some decisions. I mean, I would far rather that you could go the way of doing it up, actually reducing the number of rooms, raising the cost. I mean, that's got to be a preferable way.
Next for discussion, the hotel's peculiar name.
Whichever way we choose to go, this has got to be rebranded, this place, right? We've got this crazy name that says nothing about anything apart from a few red Indians on the mantelpiece. So what I would like you to do is to come up with a short list of, say, 10 names that you can think of for this place, right?
Yes.
And then we're going to go out on the street and we're going to ask the people.
Oh.
Okay?
Yes.
And we'll see what they think is going to be a good name for this place, because everyone's going to have an opinion.
Finally, it's time for Mark and Heidi to confront their wanton spending.
Where I'm thinking is that the boring bit, but the necessary bit, is we've got to talk about the finances. Mark, you've told me that your beloved wife likes spending money and that sometimes you put the kibosh on it, but more often than not, she gets her way.
Yep.
I don't think Mark always knows what you're doing. I'm not sure you know what he's doing all the time. And I'm not sure, in fact, I'm bloody certain that together you don't know what you're doing half the time. I want you to talk together. I'd actually even like to suggest that maybe once a month you have a proper meeting together where you take the morning, go out, have coffee, do whatever, and sit over a table and actually talk about how the business is going together.
Whichever way they decide to take the hotel, Ruth wants them to come up with a budget and stick to it. But her comments don't seem to be getting the response she'd like.
I'm asking you to be aware and to understand that if you have X coming in and you have X amount of overhead, you have X amount to spend, and you cannot spend more than that. It's quite simple. Your eyes are glazing over as I talk to you.
No.
It matters, Heidi. This matters. Yeah. It's not, I mean, you know, we're talking real stuff here. It might be on paper, the figures, but the reality is that come next January, February, you ain't got no more money. What do you do?
No, I agree. Totally agree.
Heidi and Mark are working so hard here and they're full of enthusiasm for Weyanoke, but the fact is they don't know where they're going. And what I really would like to see is Heidi's eyes stop glazing over the minute we talk about finances. It matters that they have a coherent business plan that they stick to. If they don't actually keep a tight cross on things and if they don't know where they're going, then actually this is all going to come asunder, whether it's called Weyanoke or not.
Mark and Heidi get straight down to work, tidying up the messy reception. But Ruth's ticking off hasn't gone down too well.
I hate being told what to do. Tidy your desk, tidy your bedroom. It's just horrible, isn't it? It was a little bit like being back at home and having your mum nagging you.
But Heidi is feeling more enthusiastic about dropping her coach clientele.
I think it would take a bit of getting used to not having coaches in and just dealing with private guests. I think it'd be, nice to go down a new route and have a new challenge. And I can't wait till all the rooms are fantastic. And you just can't do that with the coaches.
Sometimes I think I'm your skivvy, you know.
Look, if you ain't going to help, bugger off. You going to help me?
I might bugger off.
It's not just the reception that needs a revamp. Ruth wants Mark and Heidi to concentrate on 3 key points. First, they have to start budgeting properly or the hotel will run out of money altogether. No more wanton spending from Heidi. Second, she wants them to lose the Native American name and statues, replacing them both with something more fitting and aspirational.
Here is your first number. 8 and 9, 89.
Finally, they'll have to stop running 2 hotels under one roof. On her next visit, Ruth will provide them with 2 financial forecasts for the year ahead, so Mark and Heidi can choose the most profitable path.
So the massive prize of £6 divided by 2 is how much, Heidi?
£3.
£3.
Waving goodbye to yet another coach party has brought home to Mark and Heidi how critical the situation is.
We had 39 guests in, we got £2,840. Our mortgage is £1,250. Our food bill was about £600, so we haven't made any money this week.
A few days later, the rebranding process gets underway in the hotel's Apricot Lounge.
It's an end of an era. The Weyanoke Indians are being put to bed for the foreseeable future. Anybody makes us a decent offer, they can have them, basically.
Right, come on you family of Cherokees.
I feel a bit emotional about moving them. I know I hate them, but they've been with us for 2.5 years now.
Tutty bye.
In room 17, things are on the up. Ruth had objected to Heidi's plans to build a small internal bathroom, so the couple went back to the drawing board.
When Ruth was here last time, she said that this room was far too small to put a bathroom in. And she also said that we should take this bathroom, which used to belong to next door, and incorporate it into the room. We sat down, got our bookings book out and worked out if we could lose a room for the whole of the summer. So we have taken Ruth's advice, but on a depressing note, we are now, for quite a few weeks of the year, turning this fabulous, fantastic room with a big 4-poster bed and lovely furniture and things, giving it away for the coaches.
But despite Ruth's words of caution, Heidi seems to have taken her suggestion that they enlarge the bathroom as a licence to supersize the budget.
I suppose by having Ruth here, it's sort of given us the confidence to be able to say, sod it, let's just do it. And instead of having, an average bathroom, we've now trying to trump the last room we've done and make it better. We've got 2 sinks going in the bath, we've got a jacuzzi bath, we've got a waterproof television going in the bathroom. So it is all about trying to get it better and better. So I hope when Ruth comes back, she'll be really pleased with us.
By funding the project with credit cards and overdrafts, Mark and Heidi are just storing up trouble for the future. Ruth also suggested regular meetings away from the hotel to help the bickering business partners work more effectively. Item 1 on Mark's agenda is, not surprisingly, room 17.
Since Ruth had a bit of a go at you about spending too much money, what's she going to say when she finds out how much you spent this week?
She hasn't put the foot on the brake and said, stop now, so I'm just getting it in quick.
But if we ran out of money, it would have to stop, wouldn't we?
I can't stop spending money. The room's a started project. No.
It would have to stop. Simple as that. If you haven't got money to spend, you're glazing over.
Well, it's
Again.
boring. It's boring. You're just boring me.
But we've got people paying £18 a night, sleeping in a room that you spent £8,000 on.
Top whack. I've spent that £3,000.
£3,000.
Top whack.
You're talking rubbish. I've worked out at least 6 already with the 2 TVs, the bath. Don't ignore me. The idea is that you budget. They said you've got a budget for things.
Well, it's not a business
Not a budget,
plan.
is it?
It doesn't interest
Sorry?
me.
But you have to budget. That means you have to be a bit more inventive about where you get things
Well, you set me a budget. You say, there you go, there's
Okay.
£8,000 and you
No,
can spend that
I'd
on
say
a
there's
room.
£3,000, Heidi.
And I would say, no way.
Mark's attempt at getting Heidi to stick to a budget seems to have fallen on deaf ears, but will Ruth be able to do any better?
Whether you like it or not, this hotel's going to have a new name. And if you feel railroaded, be my guest. You have been.
For 3 years, Mark and Heidi Cowderoy have owned the Weyanoke Hotel in Eastbourne, but it's in trouble. One half of the hotel caters to coach parties of pensioners paying rock-bottom rates. The other half has had a £1 million facelift to attract the luxury market. But as a whole, neither approach is working. Now Mark and Heidi are deep in debt, and the hotel's confused identity is putting off the customers.
The whole thing is just this horrible, horrible push me, pull you.
They've called on the hotel inspector for help, but her straight shooting has nearly led to a showdown.
The reality is that come next January, February, you ain't got no more money. What do you do?
Ruth is back at the Weyanoke to help them decide which way to take the business. But first, she wants to look at room 17. During her last visit, she suggested the couple change their plans to make the room appeal more to high-paying private customers.
Oh my word. Gosh, what a difference.
Yeah.
And it's not the kind of room you want to be selling for 20 quid a night. Do you know how much you spent on the room?
About 6,000.
It's quite a lot of money. I would be looking more at a 3,000–4,000 if you possibly can. The point is that this room, in any hotel, you could be looking at £120, £130 a night bed and breakfast. And that has got to be, something like 4 times, 5 times what you'd get for a coach party.
Yeah.
Think about it. Whole 5 days of coach party compared to one night.
Yep.
Just one night's laundry, one breakfast food. I mean, it would break my heart to give this away for 25 quid a night. However, what really bothers me is there's no budget to begin with, and even if there was, the likelihood is you'd overspend it. And I think that's somewhere where we've really got to tighten up, because I am looking at something in here that looks extremely expensive.
Yeah.
Bath don't look cheap from where I'm standing.
Jacuzzi with lights.
With lights?
Yeah, it's nice. The whole suite, the toilet, the sink and the bath was £800.
And this is presumably a water-resistant plasma screen of some description.
Yes.
It is £600.
£600 for television. So we're looking at a bathroom which is about £2,000.
Yes.
That's a jolly expensive bathroom by any measure.
With the cost of the new room adding to the couple's overdraft, making a decision about the hotel's future is more vital than ever.
We have a claim on 2 and 8.
Since her last visit, Ruth's been doing her homework, putting together 2 business plans. Her first projection shows how much money the couple would make in the next year if they stop refurbishments and concentrate on low-paying coach parties.
Although you're likely to turn over nigh on £300,000, by the time we take out your mortgage repayments, the expenses, the food, the wages, all the costs, you're making a loss of about £1,000. It's before you spend any more money on curtains.
Not good, is it?
The second plan sets out how the business would do if they complete the refurbishment, lose the coach parties, and only deal with high-paying private guests.
The revised net profit, instead of a loss of nearly £1,000, is £60,000 profit.
It is a massive risk, though. You'd have to basically start again with your whole guest base.
But I think you should be sort of starting again. And I know it seems very scary, but
It does.
you're trading so madly at the moment because you're constantly improving the product, you're improving the rooms, you're spending a fortune on the rooms, but you're still saying, on the other hand, I'm going to get all the cheapskates in who are going to pay me nothing for this. I mean, if you want to do that, Heidi, stop doing anything to this hotel.
The couple need a fresh start, and a new name would help. For 3 years, they've hated the name Weyanoke, but typically, this quibbling couple couldn't settle on an alternative. To spur them into action, Ruth has demanded a shortlist of 10 enticing names.
So you came up with this list anyway, and I'm quite impressed actually. There's a real diversity in there, isn't there? Of the ones that you produced, what do you think about things more modern, like Breakwater, Shingles, The Pier, Water's Edge, Waterside, Pebble Beach?
Shingles just reminds me
of an illness.
An illness,
Yes.
and there's plenty of old people having shingles.
Right, so we get rid of that one.
Getting rid of Breakwater because Breakwater, break wind. I can't-
Exactly, that's exactly what I thought too.
Answer the phone to that.
I very much like East Beach, and I actually quite like the fact it's East Beach, Eastbourne. I don't mind that. I like the coast, and I liked Seven Sisters. But what do you like?
Personally, I do like the East Beach.
So, which 2 do you like? Do you like East Beach? Heidi, whether you like it or not, this hotel's going to have a new name. You might not love it to death, but we've got to start somewhere because what we do know is you don't like Weyanoke or Weyanoke, however one pronounces it, which is also part of the problem.
East Beach, yeah, I could live with that.
So we are down to East Beach, the coast, and if you feel railroaded, be my guest. You have been. But if it's a question of railroading you or sitting with the name Weyanoke above your front door for the next 10 years, I'm going to railroad you.
Of course.
We've enough time to think of.
Time to canvass opinion on the streets of Eastbourne. The public will be given a choice between East Beach, the coast, and the hotel's current title, Weyanoke.
We're running a little book here. Heidi and her husband want to rename their hotel, which is just down the front. Would you mind telling me of these 3 names, which you think might be the best name for their hotel?
For a book?
No, it's for their hotel.
I'd go for East.
East Beach, right. Is that 3 votes for East Beach? Mark, do you want to?
Yeah, I'll do this.
Yes.
East Beach?
Yes.
Okay, number 2 for East Beach.
The coast is a better name, I reckon. I'll go with the one that's top one. I'll go with the coast.
Yeah. I'd say East Beach.
You like East Beach?
Yeah.
I think East Beach. Weyanoke, I think you'd have trouble remembering.
Yes.
I think the coast is quite traditional. It's quite nice.
The competition between the coast and the East Beach is close, but the unpronounceable Weyanoke trails far behind.
Weyanoke, we have 1 vote.
1 vote. Yep.
For the coast, we've got 22, and we have got 33 for East Beach.
Have a resounding winner.
Sod it, let's go for it.
So, East Beach it is, and the new name means there's a chance to rebrand the hotel and get some publicity. To do this, Ruth plans to invite some key members of the national press to sample the East Beach and spend a night there. If they react positively to the refurbished rooms, it could give Mark and Heidi the confidence they need to relinquish the coach parties. The press day will take place in just a few weeks, so Mark and Heidi have a lot of work to do, but they're not seeing eye to eye.
Mark and I had a massive barney about getting the next room done. And, you know, Mark, I think, is a bit scared of Ruth. Every time he sees the woman, he gives her a line. Doesn't matter what it is, he just feeds her something and she runs with it 1,000 miles.
Bath don't look cheap from where I'm standing.
Jacuzzi. With lights.
With lights?
Yes, nice. I said he was a fucking bastard for giving her an inch and letting her run a mile.
Despite the friction, Heidi's already started work on her next and most ambitious project to date. Room 28 has the potential to be a jewel in the hotel's crown.
I'm so excited to be getting on with this room. It is beautiful, beautiful views. The bed is going to go here, so you'll be laying in bed looking at the sea, looking at the pier over there. It's just room to die for.
Yet again, the project will add to the couple's bank debts, but at least this time they're discussing the costs.
Heidi has a budget of 6,000, and if she can do it cheaper, then she's going to try. I'm not sure she will or not, but I do ask her about it now and again, and she says it's going ahead as planned. But with Heidi, that could mean anything. God, right.
It remains to be seen if Heidi will be able to keep to the £6,000 budget Mark believes they can afford. 2 weeks later, and the hard work on rebranding the hotel is almost complete. The once confused Weyanoke has finally been transformed into the modern East Beach. There's a new sign over the door, complete with a stylish new logo. The Victorian building has had a fresh coat of paint and now looks crisp and clean. Inside, Heidi and her team of decorators have been working around the clock. What were once 2 dark rooms with outdated decor are now an elegant showstopper. With wonderful views and a sumptuous bathroom, Room 28 is finally fit for the upscale clientele that Mark and Heidi want to attract.
I think the development of the rooms and what we've done, how the front looks, the signage and everything, I think it's fantastic.
And it seems that for Heidi, completing the work has helped her draw a line under her spending.
I feel exhausted of spending money, so yes, well happy to stop and want to see the bank balance going up a bit and building a reserve for more improvements.
You know, this time next year, I think, you know, we'll be looking maybe 10 times better than we were. So it's been a good boost for us, really.
But weeks of being told to budget responsibly and all the hard work of finishing the rooms has left Heidi feeling a little fragile.
Do a bit of spring.
It's a bit like the 3 people in a marriage, you know, that sort of thing. It has been a little bit, you know, Mark and Ruth have thought this and Heidi's thought this, and I have felt a bit ganged up on at times, which I really hate because that's not being in control and being able to have control.
The day of the press launch has finally arrived. For the past 3 months, Mark and Heidi had been working with Ruth to improve their failing fortunes. They've been up since 5 a.m. getting ready for the imminent arrival of their special guests.
I'm feeling sick. And I'm feeling very sick because it's totally out of control. You know, what is going on in their heads, what they're thinking, what they write about, how their perception of it all. And having no control over it is horrible.
Ruth has invited travel writers from a variety of national publications, including Which magazine and the Independent newspaper. Good reviews could help the business, but the couple can't control what the journalists write.
should do. And but what we impressions that we create for them is obviously very important, because if they say we're crap, then obviously no one's going to come here. So then you're going back to coaches. So, you know, hopefully they really like the rooms they're going into, and hopefully they like us and what Eastbourne has got to offer.
Lindsay Hunt from Which magazine has brought husband John with her to test out the hotel.
I think this is a thoroughly soothing room. I'd call it a very serene room, very seasidey.
Well, if you look out the window, yes, it's almost, you know, a panorama sweep across from the colour of the sea onto the walls. That's clever. That's well thought out, I think.
Staying just down the corridor is Simon Calder, the travel editor of the Independent newspaper.
This is a hotel with a dual identity. Downstairs hasn't changed since the 1960s, and then suddenly you come into this room and it's great.
Mark and Heidi seem to be making a good impression so far, but there's a long way to go if they're to convince the hard-bitten journalists that the East Beach and Eastbourne is the place to be. Downstairs, there's a champagne reception to kick proceedings off. Journalist Simon tackles Heidi about the hotel's current clientele.
Can you tell me, please, the average age of your guests?
I would say the average age of our guests is 70.
70 years and 10.
Under pressure, Heidi's already starting to feel out of her depth.
I think having the journalists here for the weekend is definitely swimming with the sharks. I think it's awful. Put ourselves through absolute hell trying to get everything with the rooms ready, everything ready. They don't ever switch off, do they? And it is perception, their perception of your product. And I don't like it at all because there's no control.
Feeling the strain, Heidi heads off on a whistle-stop tour of the region with the visiting journalists. The Eastbourne tourism team had arranged to take them paragliding, but poor weather has forced them into more down-to-earth activities. Meanwhile, Mark is manning the desk at the East Beach, awaiting Ruth's return. She's keen to inspect the newly refurbished Room 28. Mark had set Heidi a budget of £6,000, but the room actually cost £8,000. Will Ruth think it was money well spent?
This is just stupendously better, isn't it?
So
It's you wouldn't even know it was the same hotel.
No, we're really, really proud of it. We're really proud of it. It's worked out just exactly as we wanted.
To do this actually kind of probably makes all the work you've done this year worthwhile, because I think this is just sensational. Oh. So what is the total investment in this bathroom with the tiles and the shower and the plasma screen and the jacuzzi?
Round about the 2,000, maybe a little bit less.
I really, really would hate for you to be spending £2,000 on bathrooms in general. I think that to be doing that on one or two very, very key rooms is perhaps permissible.
Yep.
So can you assure me that after this last splurge of expenditure, you're going to put the mockers on it all until next year when you know how much you've made?
Yeah, I think I'm well aware of the fact, and I know Heidi is as well.
But getting Ruth's approval is only half the battle. Mark and Heidi still have to get through the rest of the press weekend. Is the strain starting to take its toll? For over 3 years, Mark and Heidi Cowderoy have been running a hotel with a dual identity and heavy debts that have been weighing them down. They've called on Ruth Watson, the hotel inspector, to help steer the newly named East Beach towards safe harbour. As part of that process, the couple have opened their doors to members of the press. They've been enjoying a tour of the region before visiting a nearby winery. A tired Heidi is supposed to be looking after them, but she seems more concerned with Ruth's reaction to Room 28 in her absence.
I'm feeling exhausted. I can't wait for tomorrow to be over. And my parting shot to Mark was, don't be going giving her any bloody ammunition to have a go at me later.
But Room 28 will also have to impress its first guest, Guardian travel journalist Sally Shallam, a seasoned travel writer. Ruth is keen to get her take on Mark and Heidi's hotel.
Nice to see you. Tell me what you think about this room.
I really like it. It's a girly room.
Heidi really works her socks off, spends too much money, but She and Mark are really trying to make this hotel into something that you'd like to stay in.
It really stands out from a lot of the others on the seafront because they've obviously done their overwinter repairs and paint jobs, but this one actually is pristine. You know, if you have a room with great views like this, you'll come back to stay because you're going to wake up in the morning and you can see sea and sky. And in a seaside town, it is so rare that you actually get a room that's good.
Yeah.
Ruth is keen for Sally to put the new room into perspective, so she takes her next door to one of the hotel's unrefurbished rooms.
Oh, I'm glad I'm not in this one.
Yeah. and this came with the coach trade, which brings in lots of people, but a very small amount of money. You cannot then sell those rooms to people only paying 20, 25 quid a night.
No, of course not. That's mad.
Back on the press tour, it's time for a spot of wine tasting. If the journalists are to get a good impression of Eastbourne as a tourist destination, it's crucial the event goes down well.
I have to say, with the very greatest respect to the excellent work of the English wine industry, I've just worked out that on average we drink 1 fluid ounce per person in Britain every year, which I think if someone were being unfair, they'd say that's just about right.
It's a real adventure for the taste buds.
Although I think it's a cracking good idea to have an English wine industry again, I have to say I'm a bit disappointed.
Whether or not it's a genuine case of in vino veritas, for Heidi, the journalist's critical comments and the strain of the past few weeks are too much to take. At the winery, Heidi gets a call to lift her spirits. Mark's rung to let her know that on the whole, the new room has got Ruth and Sally's endorsement.
I'm not dreading going home now. I can go home with relief and he put a smile on my face, so that's good.
So far, entertaining members of the press has had its ups and downs. All that remains to be seen is what they think of the East Beach after spending the night. The following morning, the sun is shining on Eastbourne, and Ruth is eager to find out how the East Beach has fared.
Yeah, I think they have to go upmarket, but gently and gradually, and they have to just take it steady. Don't spend all this ludicrous amount on things that are not essential, really. Right.
Music to my ears.
Yeah.
What does Simon Calder think that the future holds for the East Beach?
They just need to decide, are we going to be Ryanair doing everything the cheapest, basic way, offering people a very low-cost, adequate service, or are we going to be Ritz-Carlton, moving people up market? You cannot possibly be both at the same time. It just doesn't work.
I think they're going to have to take a leap, and it's difficult, but I think they'll find when they do that instead of finding thin air underneath them, that there's a pavement and it's very solid, and it's a pavement of people who desperately want to get away to the seaside.
Armed with fairly positive feedback, Ruth sits Mark and Heidi down for one last chat. For the past 3 months, she's been encouraging them to commit to taking the hotel up and out of the rut created by endless coach parties. Has the press weekend given them the confidence to go ahead?
Now, the key question is, all of this plan is going to take a lot of courage, focused courage. Do you think you've got it?
Yes, I think it's given us a good kick up the backside, and it's given us a bit more belief in the product and what we can offer and what we can achieve.
I can see that if anything comes along that hits that cash flow and that you think, oh my God, and you look forward 6 months' time and see it's an empty diary, my fear is that you'll take that phone call from that coach company and you will fill it with those people. Yeah. And I'm telling you, it will be such the wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
Please don't lose your bottle. Please stay focused.
It's courage, isn't it? That's what it's
all
about.
It is, having the nerve.
Yeah.
I think you've got it. Keep in touch.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, thanks for your
Eastbourne, like so many of our British seaside towns, suffers dreadfully from this tottering by, crumbly image. And it's such a shame because it's a fantastic place. I can't think of a better couple than Mark and Heidi to be in the vanguard of its resurgence. They deserve such success for really being convinced that Eastbourne deserves a good hotel. And I think if they can focus, keep the purse strings closely shut until such time as they can really carry on with this refurbishment, then they're going to have an enormous success here. I really hope so. They deserve it.